Morning, all. I am here to share a session on Spring Boot. First of all, as you all know, the Spring Boot is a web service, web application that provides web service used to provide the web application. We can go through first what is a web service. These are the contents that is to be covered in this session. First one, we can go through what is a web service. Web service can be declared as a system that provide communication facility which support interoperable machine-to-machine interaction over a network service. Then some of the questions that arise when we talk about this web service is how does the data exchange take place between the web service and the application that are using web service. It is achieved mainly through a request and response format. Request is the client request is a question or a need of a client application who is requesting the service from a server or a web service. A response is the answer to that particular question from the server side that is provided by the web service to the corresponding client application. Next question that related to web service is that how can we make this web service platform independent? That is, nowadays we know that there are several programming languages, there are applications, a wide range of applications developed using a wide range of programs, different frameworks and all. So how can we make web service independent, and how can we make available one type of web service to all from where it is a program? This can be achieved by the making the main components that is previously mentioned, request and response, as independent. That is by using a common format that is supported by all these platforms. So some of the examples that how we can then the next question arises how we can achieve this common behavior in the request and response. The answer is that we can use a common structure or common language to define the request and response. One of the example is that XML and JSON. XML is extension markup language which was used the previous era or for long previous years. Nowadays the common trending structure for the request and response is JSON, that means JavaScript object notation format. It's like a map like dictionary type structure, key and value access as key and value pairs. Next question web service is that how application and employees make use of this web service after knowing the request and response structure format also. This is made possible by referring the service definition of each web service. A web service will mainly have a specific structure which defines the response and request structure format supported by that web service. For XML, we use the WSDL web service definition language, and for JSON we use WADL web application definition language or Swagger documentation. So in every service definition there is mainly four components: request and response format, request structure, response structure, and then points where URL is where URL and then point is URL where the service will be available for user. The request. So we can go through the main components of service definition like request structure and response structure. The request structure is the structure kept by a client application when requesting a service from the web service. In general, the structure of request in client-server communication includes the following components like request line, request headers, request body. Request line includes a HTTP method which is going to be produced. That is, if we want to retrieve data, we use a get HTTP method. If we need to post or create some data in the database, we use post method of HTTP method. And if we need to update the existing value, we use the put approach. And if we want to delete any existing ID or details, we need to delete use the delete HTTP method. to the of the resource being requested. Next component is request headers. Request headers, these contain additional information about requests such as the content type, which is the accept type, and authorization credentials, like which all permission does the client can have through this request. And the headers will be occurs as a key value pairs separated by colon. Here request headers includes the host and content type. This is in this image you can see the two request headers mainly used, that is host and content type. Host here is example.com and the content type is JSON format. Then comes the request body. Request body is optional, that means only the post and put HTTP method will have a request body, because it is only the method that we are using to create or update the values. So it will only contain the value while the client is requesting to the server. But but in the sense of receiving, in the response case, the response body will only be will be there for get and delete, not compulsory for delete, but get method will only mainly have the response body in the response structure, not here in the while we are addressing the response structure we can see that. So this is the example of request structure. As I mentioned, the details is provided in these 2 points, you can read it out. Next comes the response structure. Response structure is the structure of response that web service provides. Main components in the response is status line, response headers, and response body. Status line is that one line that includes the HTTP version being used. Status code. Status code means what is the current status on the server. Is it successful? And then the request made by the client is successful, or whether there is an issue from the client side or there is an issue from the server side. Like that, status code will be there. It can be numeric or alphabetic, and the reason for the corresponding status code. That is, if 200 is there, that means it is okay. If 500 is that, it is something error caused from the server side. If 400 and series of 4 numbers was showing there, it means that is issue from the client side. Client need to cross check the request once again. Next comes the response headers. Response header, in the sense as we see previously in the request structure, there are as request headers, here also response headers is there. It contains the content type, content length, caching directives, like that. This also occurs in key value pairs. In this example, you can see the date is a component of header, server is a component of header, content length and content type is a component of header. Next comes response body. Response body is the response that server provides to the client. In case get request, successful post request, will only the content contain the body. Mainly that request contains actual value. Post and put method will only give a generic message like deletion done or deletion unsuccessful, updation done, updation unsuccessful, like that messages only will be there for put, delete and post. So that's the structure of the response. Next main component doubt is that how is this transportation possible? How the request packet is sent to the server, and how the response packet is received from the server or sent to the client. It is mainly the transport mechanism, as we have mentioned throughout this session. I have used HTTP and all. Mainly the HTTP is used widely used, and there some other method also, that is messaging queue. Mainly the old method like SOAP web service uses the messaging queue method. One of the example of messaging is web message queue. Remaining all uses the HTTP method, which is more secured one. Next comes the different types of web service. Here we are taking two for comparing. One is SOAP and REST. SOAP is the old one, and the REST is the new trending one in the market. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. If here is the two application, Facebook and Twitter application. If here it is requesting sending in XML language, and the response is also received in the XML language. The service definition for maintaining this structure is called in the SOAP is called W. SDL, Web Service Definition Language. This is the structure of the XML, not simple as JSON. It is similar to some HTML tag. And right side image is the SOAP structure. So it will be inside an envelope, and envelope will contain the header and a body. As I said, transport is done over message queue and HTTP. The service definition is used in WSDL, service definition language. Next comes the most trending one, REST, representation of state transfer. Here in it, the data exchange format is of common type, that is JSON is popular. It is used. Transport session is only uses the HTTP. No MQ is used because HTTP is more readable and more secure. So then service definition, no standard definition, mainly Swagger is used. Swagger supports the JSON format. XML is used in the REST. Next, we can compare REST and SOAP. In one word, we can say REST is easy to implement than SOAP, as it is more flexible and more loosely coupled. It uses JSON for no need of specific service definition and all. So that's it.